Funding for NEOtropolis has been provided by the following.
Hello, I'm Lester Lefton. Kent State University is proud to sponsor NEOtropolis, a program that looks at the forces that impact the region. Kent State is one of those forces. As a center of educational excellence and as an economic development engine, our efforts at Kent State have a powerful and positive impact on the region through research and development, the arts and innovation, and preparing our graduates to compete in the global marketplace. I hope you enjoy the program, and I invite you to learn more about Kent State University.
The John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, supporting transformational ideas that promote informed and engaged communities.
Hello and welcome to NEOtropolis, the show about the forces of technology, globalization, and diversity, how they affect our lives right here in Northeast Ohio. I'm Luke Frazier. Tonight is how we look at rituals and how technology makes them different than they used to be. We'll visit a coffee shop that seems to have more folks working on computers than drinking coffee. We'll take a trip to a library where books are starting to take a backseat to computers, and consider the journey to the beyond in a natural cemetery. Plus, a big idea that melds physics with Buddhism. NEOtropolis is ritualizing for all the right reasons. Stay tuned. Tonight's episode is called Rituals and Reasons. Joining me now is Stacy Shelton, our Performance Improvement Specialist. Is that what?
Performance Improvement Consultant.
And NEOtropolis contributor.
Yep.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Excellent. Tell me about a ritual in your life. You know, it's rituals and reasons, and I'm curious about how that fits together for you.
So every morning I have a journaling ritual. So I sit down, have my coffee, and then I write.
Okay, that sounds pretty basic and pretty like old school.
Old school.
Any part of technology that plays into that kind of thing?
Now it is, because I used to do a paper journal, but recently I started using this app, Day One, where everything gets saved to the cloud and I can have everything right at my fingertips. So reluctantly I moved in that way because it was just convenient.
So you're in a space of quietness, but you're also using technological tools.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is with rituals. I mean, we make adjustments in our rituals, I think, because of technology and other forces.
I have.
You know, weren't you telling me something about the music that you have during your morning meditation?
Yeah, I had a singing bowl, so that was cool, and you can sit down with your singing bowl, but now there's even an app for that.
Okay.
Or there's CDs for that, so I've used those and played around with those as well.
Yeah, that's really, I think that part of the reason we have those rituals is to feel comfort.
Yeah.
So I can picture you comfortably sitting at home, having the music, having the coffee. My ritual is getting coffee as fast as I can.
Well, that's
stumbling down the stairs, getting the coffee. But even then, I might have a coffee maker that's made in Italy, right? Or I grind some Ethiopian beans with a grinder made in China.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I'm like part of the global world as well as performing a ritual.
Right. So like when I have my coffee with all my friends on Twitter, and there's somebody from Pakistan and somebody from London.
Really? Are they drinking coffee at the same time? There's some kind of time difference.
They're on at the same time, and we're all talking about our morning thing, and so we have our morning greeting. It's like greeting at the coffee shop, but now it's virtual.
Yeah, we're going to go to a coffee shop in a few minutes, but it's like I can just sense that the way technology is accelerating things sometimes does impact rituals, and we're going to talk to Dr. Dave about that too.
That's going to be great.
So what do we want to hear from people today about their rituals?
Well, yeah, we want people to tell us one way that celebrations in your life have changed because of technology. So weddings, family gatherings, tell us about it.
Yeah. So one ways that changes have made, we want you to be able to tell us what it's about for you. So what we'd like you to do is go on Facebook or email Luke at neotropolis.org or text us. That's a new way, an easy way to get in, 440-345-6745. Text us, 440-345-6745. We want to hear from you.
Be part of the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at NEOtropolis TV and on Facebook, YouTube, and Google+. When you visit neotropolis.org, check out the archives and sign up for our e-newsletter.
As I mentioned to Stacy, even the way we approach coffee changes because of technology. I took a trip to a local coffee shop to see how computers have infiltrated the Java consciousness.
I'm not a barista, and I don't even play one on TV, but I'm here at the coffee house, and I'm looking out, and sometimes all there is a sea of computer screens. So I'm standing here with Michael. He also works at the shop. How long have you been working here as a barista?
I've been with Phoenix Coffee for 4 years now.
Excellent. And, I was remarking earlier, sometimes you look out, all you see is a sea of computers. What does that say to you?
I'd say it's less person-to-person communication, more cyber communication as you're speaking about. A lot of people, I think, are browsing the internet, checking Facebook, just passing the time.
I'm a social worker. I'm answering emails from my boss and typing in case notes.
I'm studying for my national counseling exam.
Well, I'm going over the news right now.
So why aren't you at an office? What are you doing here at a coffee shop?
I can get more work done at the coffee shop than I can at the office.
Being in a space with people, there's an energy that is really, really important for our growth as human beings.
It's convenient. It's right in the area that I work in without having to go all the way downtown to the office. As long as we get our productivity and our job done, they don't care how we do it or where we do it.
Coffee shops are really helpful for getting me to focus, because when I'm at home, I have cleaning to do or my dog to take out and play with.
I have plenty of time that I can sit next to my coworkers, so this is my time where I can get my job done.
This is my iPod, one of the greatest inventions in mankind beside the wheel, seriously. It changed my whole life. Seriously, a year ago, I couldn't even barely use my computer. Today, I'm an expert.
You're 66. I guess I'm a little surprised to say that you realized and you took hold and you took grab of a technology like that.
When I retired, I felt so alone. Everybody that I knew was on an iPhone or equivalent to an iPhone, and I didn't understand them, and I didn't want to be left behind, to be honest with you. And it took me 6 months to learn how to use it, and then I became sort of a semi-expert, and I can't live without it.
If we get too absorbed into our computers or our technology, that we kind of lose the ability to have that human contact. There needs to be some sort of balance. We can't just all be absorbed in our computers, and we can't function in society if we only have the other. So we need to find our middle ground.
Technology is it today, and it's a wonderful thing.
Nice. So we won't be left behind with this technology because you can use it. You can take advantage of it. You can be in a social space but also be productive. Dear Diary, today I was at a coffee shop looking at how the force of technology affects people there. I talked to some baristas who said, sometimes they only see computers. Then I talked to a guy who was all about the productivity he could have in the shop. And then Tom, he told me all about his embracing technology, not wanting to feel left behind. That was cool. But then I talked to a woman who said, it is all about balance. It's about balance between technology and social interaction. I guess that's the lesson. That's it for now. Thanks to Travis Pollard and crew for that look at coffee rituals. Joining me now to put rituals in some kind of global context, I'm sure he's going to be able to, is staff anthropologist Dave Perusic. How are you?
I'm fine, Luke. How you doing, buddy?
Dr. Dave, help me out here.
Dr. Dave is in the house.
We've talked before about what culture is, and it kind of can be seen as a webs of significance.
That's right.
So what is the idea of ritual? How does that fit in there?
You can almost think of ritual as webs within webs. There are an awful lot of different approaches to ritual that are helpful to think about. Part of it has to do with repetitive behavior, almost stereotype behavior, things that folks can rely on. And I think that's the sense you guys were discussing a little bit earlier. But in one of the broader senses, you could say that all of human life is ritualistic insofar as we engage in patterned interactions, and we come to expect that our interactions will fall within certain parameters.
Yeah, or we want them to fall in certain parameters, right? We want to count.
And generally they do, much more than one might think if you start to consider it. But in the broader sense, rituals are sort of performances that communicate something. And by and large, when we think of them more deeply, we think of public performances in which a people, a society, or a group acts out who they are or who they think they are or who they aspire to be. And in enacting those things, they make them real.
So are we ritual behavior right here? I mean, me talking to you, we've done it several times.
Segment,
right? So we sit here and we talk about stuff in a ritualized way.
Yeah.
I'm curious, though, sometimes you hear ritual and it's like derogatory. That's ritualized behavior. Is it value free, or is there a part of it that's naturally positive, or does it?
Well, I think it is what it is. Not to be coy in answering your question, but it's necessary. We rely on ritual. Just think of recent rituals just in the last few weeks here in Northeast Ohio. Rituals mark who we are. They mark the seasons of the year. You can talk about the St. Patrick's Day Parade. You can talk about opening day at Cleveland Stadium or any other. Right. More importantly, we have rituals that mark the transition of the individual from one social status to another, from being single to being married,
Yeah, that's a
to,
big...
to being a no-name to a naming ceremony.
Okay.
Weddings obviously mark us, so I think I just said
first
that.
communions,
but funerals,
I mean, things that are in
confirmations, bar
yeah,
mitzvahs,
yeah.
bat mitzvahs.
I wonder,
we rely on ritual. Actually, when we talk about ritual, Luke, I think the first and foremost thing we may be talking about is identity.
Okay.
Whether at an individual or group level.
Right. I think that what's interesting again to me is that, you know, if we have a ritual that can be both a positive thing and a negative thing, I mean, a passage, a rite of passage.
That's right.
Okay. But what if you're going towards something that you're not ready for? I mean, but the ritual says it's at this age or that age, or, you know, like people feel rushed into rituals, or don't they?
Well, I'm not sure, but I can tell you this. We should think about rituals in ways that maybe we don't ordinarily think. How about the medical rituals we engage in? End-of-life rituals where the terminally ill are forced to conform to some sort of technological imperative.
Right.
We have technological rituals these days.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a segment coming up later. I don't know if you're giving a nice plug for that, but a natural cemetery where there's, you know, the ritual of embalming and putting all these chemicals and doing all that kind of thing is discarded in favor of something more natural.
Yeah, right. Very
what's
good.
a ritual that you have?
Oh, I'm not sure. Coming down to do NEOtropolis, and I say my prayers and hope I won't say anything too stupid.
Well, that's your prayers are answered every year,
right on.
every week. Well, what I wonder though is when Stacy was talking about that connection she had through some social media and through technology, that ritual became richer. I mean, what do you see as far as how that can help or hinder?
Without any doubt, I think that, and by the way, I've noticed that when you and I speak of technology, we don't mean, for instance, a club, which is technology too, but we obviously are referring to, you know, up-to-date, high technology.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of technology clearly amplifies rituals. Think of a Super Bowl. And by the way, in the image of a Super Bowl, think of all the symbols and images and beliefs and assumptions that are mustered in this grand performance of all sorts of things. Militarism, competition.
Well, it's men in pads and touching each other and the quarterback, and hey, you know, there's all kinds of things going on with rituals.
There's certainly all of that. Yeah, but there's the jet flyovers and there's the display of secular religion. I mean, lots of things come together to declare in performance who a people are or think they are or aspire to be.
Once again, enlightening stuff, Dr. Dave. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, my friend. My pleasure.
So happy rituals to all of you, too, and we'll be right back. You know, one of the rituals I practiced as a kid was going to the library. I think there's probably a lot of you out there that feel the same way about going to the library. But today when I go to the library, you know, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more technology involved. It was a ritual where I wanted to take the books and search in the stacks and then have, you know, in my hands this thing that I wanted to take out of the library. You know, but now when I go to the library, I see lots of computers. So right now, we're going to see a story about a library that has really turned from books into a competition where there's really a lot of computers. Sometimes the word library can conjure up an image of grand staircases and marble edifices around Northeast Ohio. But you know, it's about technology these days in libraries. Of course, the other thing that's going to come to mind are just stacks and stacks of books. But more and more these days, you're going to see things like QR codes giving you access to old glass photographs that have been digitalized. And of course, libraries are also the places where a lot of artifacts get collected and research is done. I'm going to talk to a couple of people who are actually involved in research that's being done in the digital age. So we're talking about, you know, how technology, both of you are heavily involved in technology here at the library, and how it's really changing the way that even things like research are done or computers are done. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, this is going to be Tech Central, which should open in May, and we're going to bring all of our public access PCs down here. There'll be 123 seats for people. There'll be Windows machines, there'll be Macintosh, there'll be Linux, there'll be iPads, there'll be tablets, there'll be all kinds of things for people to check out and use to access the internet, to access their personal files online, to really do any kind of research or activity that they're interested in.
So the library's become all these things to all these people. Is there anything that can be not discovered online now?
Oh, yeah, there's still lots of things in print that have never been migrated to an online state. There are lots of books in the library, and they can check something out here, say a laptop, take it up to another area, use it wirelessly with their other research. So this will really give a lot of flexibility and a lot more access for people than we've had in the past.
You know, on NEOtropolis, our true north is kind of how technology impacts us and affects the way we live and work. Is that what's happening here?
Yes. Definitely. You know, there have been people that have come to the library and gotten training in, say, Microsoft Word or Excel and actually ended up getting jobs as a result of it. There are people that are using our equipment for their startup, to start up a small business. There's a big economic impact. And, of course, there's also the ability for people that just don't have the resources at home to engage in social media, for instance. They hear about it, but when they come here, they're able to really operate on par with other people in our society.
Talk to me about the effect on the community. I mean, they have this resource now that they can come and access. Is that necessary? Is that a part of what they need?
Well, you know, that's been happening for, I would say, the last 20 years. And we connected to the internet in 1990 and started offering services that way. People have really migrated from coming into the library and browsing to using the online catalog at their convenience, any time of the day or night, to place holds on materials and then come to the library to pick them up. So they can renew their materials, and soon they'll be able to pay their fines and fees online.
Oh, I have some fines. Don't tell anyone.
Well, that's okay. I could fix that for you.
Tell me, is anything lost by this notion that a library is more than just the kind of print and tactile stuff?
No, I don't think so at all. I think, you know, just the last couple of days, Encyclopedia Britannica announced that they've printed their last edition and that it's only going to be available in digital form from now on.
What I have right here is a D-bound Atlas, Volume 1 of Cleveland, Ohio. This machine is responsible for over 3,600 images that are on our Cleveland Public Library digital collection.
So people really 24/7 can connect with a librarian and get answers. And when they connect with a librarian here, the answer might be that they're sent a digital file that's like a photocopy. So it brings everything together in one place. Not everything that's in print or has ever been in print is online. Not everything online is in print. How do you function these days without both?
So now we're going to turn to Amy Pulowski. She's part of the web application for this whole big system here at CleveNet. Amy, what is it you do exactly?
Well, I manage the Cleveland Public Library's website, as well as any CleveNet website that we have online. I also take care of our ebook and e-media collection. We call it the CleveNet e-media collection here at the library. At Cleveland Public Library, we were lucky. We were the first library to go live with popular ebook materials back in 2003. We started with 1,000 PDF ebooks, and now we're at over 56,000 items in our catalog.
So tell me, Amy, what is the impact of this kind of technology? What's your message to people who would use the library?
Part of the reason the library wanted to do such a program back in 2003 was try to reach out to patrons that didn't have time to make it to the library because, you know, they're working or have other responsibilities. So it kind of opened access to the library and gave them an opportunity to get to library materials after hours. And people seem to really be enjoying that right now. I am definitely an ebook reader, an avid ebook reader. I have a 20-month-old, so it's a lot easier to read something on a device as opposed to turning pages right now.
So I hadn't thought about that. With an ebook, if you're touching the screen or swiping, you don't have to worry about, if you're holding your baby, you don't have to worry about turning the pages.
Sure, it does. Not everybody prefers to read like that, which is fine. I still do read normal books once in a while.
Now it's normal books.
Normal
books,
right? Print titles, so yeah.
And finally, Amy, you know, if you would give a message to people who are trying to connect with their library, connect with the technology of their library, what would you say?
Well, I think people are kind of underestimating what libraries have to offer for them as far as what's available to them on the web. Research databases, which I think are really important. A lot of people use those for schoolwork or even for business. Small businesses are using some of our resources as well. So they're there for them to use whenever they wish.
Thanks to Larry Baker, such a nice piece on library technology. Now we'll look at a ritual that everybody, I mean every single person out there, takes part in, death and dying. But before you change the channel, consider this. It's a natural part of life, and it can happen with a great deal of dignity and grace. Joining me now, Jeff St. Clair.
Hey, Luke.
You?
Good.
You know, usually we see you with a science hat on.
Yeah.
But tonight, you're the big idea guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to change hats for this segment.
Excellent.
The big idea with this show is mind stream transference.
This sounds absolutely mind-boggling.
I had two conversations recently that show how technology and ritual start at different places and end kind of in the same place. The first conversation was with a Buddhist scholar from the Kingdom of Bhutan.
Kingdom, like king?
They have a king.
Okay, good.
They measure not the gross national product, but the gross national happiness.
Oh, very Buddhist. Okay.
Dasho Karma Ura was in Hiram to speak about Buddhism. I attended his lecture. He was talking about how Buddhism has discrete quanta of consciousness, how there are particles, sort, of consciousness. The second conversation was with physics professor Peter Tandy here at Kent State University.
The same day? I mean, you went from Buddhism to quantum?
These were different ideas that I've kind of been interested in,
right.
part of my Explore Radio series.
Cool.
He talks about the particle and wave nature of quantum field theory. Photons, for example, are the particles of light. Otherwise, it's a wave. Mind stream transference is a ritual in Buddhist culture where at the moment of death, you take the particle nature of your mind and transfer it to the wave nature. You step into the light at the moment of death.
Wait, now I remember you had a segment on light bulbs before.
Yeah.
Is this somehow you're connecting all this stuff together?
Maybe in some sort of transcendental way, maybe.
But tell me this sense of, where's the irony in this? I'm feeling like there's a quantum physics and then there's this Buddhism which seems to be away from that, but maybe really isn't.
Tibetan Buddhism has no technology. They spend all their time investigating the mind.
Right.
Our highest technology are the particle colliders that quantum field theory tries to explain what's going on. Both of these concepts are kind of coming at the same description of the universe. The ironic thing for me is that we don't really understand either one of them very well. At least I don't.
Right.
And I think we put our faith in technology, but everyone will have to experience mind stream transference.
Absolutely. At the end of life, we definitely will have to. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's fascinating stuff. Another way that death is a natural part of life is found in the unique cemetery here in Northeast Ohio. Here's Jennifer Boraz.
This is probably what comes to mind when you think of a traditional cemetery. The headstones are all in a row and the grass is cut pretty short. But just down the street at Foxfield Preserve, you'll find a completely different environment. And it's definitely not business as usual. Visitors have been coming to the Wilderness Center in Stark County since 1964 to connect with nature and enjoy some peace and quiet. This nonprofit nature center has been able to provide these facilities and educational programs for about 15,000 kids a year, along with their families, thanks to donations. But they're in the same position a lot of other businesses and nonprofits are. The economy is tough, and the money they need just isn't coming in.
Funding is always an issue with a nonprofit. So you have the grants, we can apply for grants to help us preserve the land. We can do a fundraising drive, a big special event, and say the proceeds are going for the preservation of the land. But we were looking for maybe a little bit different solution here.
Next, Gordon Maupin, the executive director of the Wilderness Center, came up with an idea that might surprise you. Using 22 acres of their land to create a nature preserve cemetery called Foxfield Preserve.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, it was from listening to PBS. We heard about Ramsey Creek Preserve, which is the first nature preserve cemetery in the United States in South Carolina. And something in my brain just clicked. It just made sense.
We'll get back to how it's financially helping the Wilderness Center, but first, you're probably wondering what in the world is a nature preserve cemetery?
It's a nature preserve first, so we don't want it to look like a cemetery. We want it to look like a nature preserve, like if you're going to any of the other nature preserves in the area, with the paths and trees and natural areas. And then only after that is it a cemetery. It's also a place where people are interred, and I think people find it just a peaceful place to come, and you don't think you're going to a cemetery like the ones where you have lines and lines of marble headstones.
There's less impact on the land because only small natural stone is allowed for grave markers, and they bury at less density than a normal cemetery.
If you want to see the rest of the piece on Foxfield Preserve, go to NEOtropolis.org. Back now with Stacy Sheldon to wrap up our show. We have a usual ritual of reading from people and what they send to us. What do we got tonight?
Some great comments.
Yeah, cool.
One viewer said how her kids now text each other for holidays, so she calls it being absent while present, but they're still communicating and communing just via text.
Good.
One family said they used to haul out the projector for holidays, and now they just do it on Apple TV. So
do you remember that? Do you remember the projector? And some, if the
terrible.
film got caught, it would start smoking and smelling bad? Yeah. Now we just haul out the Apple TV.
I was kind of happy when that happened then, because I didn't get some of those bad pictures.
Good. What was is there another one?
Someone said buying wedding gifts and registries online.
Yeah.
So now they can do that all virtually, where you used to have to go to the store. So now they can look at the registry, order the gift, and have it shipped without ever having to leave.
So that's definitely the way that rituals have changed as a result of the technology.
It is. It's
That's
great.
interesting stuff. Stacy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It was
We will
fun.
see you again.
Yes.
Very good. So next week, we are going to look at, well, actually in 2 weeks, Homesick But True, happening. It's going to have a place where students can find the comfort food from all across the globe. But in the meantime, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you at neotropolis.org and on Facebook. So be sure and tune in and stay tuned in throughout the week. I'm Luke Frazier. I will see you next time on NEOtropolis.
Funding for NEOtropolis has been provided by the following.
I've scored major motion pictures. I've written music for cartoon shows. I play in a band called Devo. So while you may not know my name, you probably know my music. And if my music moved you, thank the place that moved me, Kent State University. Because if you've seen my work, you've seen their work. My name is Mark Mothersbaugh, and I'm a proud alum of Kent State University.
The John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, supporting transformational ideas that promote informed and engaged communities.